we have two best bets on opposite sides of the same game. Tim is on one side and Casey is on the other. Tim, please present your bet. Uppy and I are going to be the tiebreaker here.
Best bet of the week, Cincinnati, -4, -4.5 at Carolina. Casey, you're on the other side?
I am.
Here's the thing. You could be right the way I've been going. You probably will be right. The problem is I'm going to shred you in the litigation process here.
I am
Yeah,
not
that's
sure
fine.
that's wrong.
Which is
No,
kind of the
results.
problem.
Yeah.
Which is kind of the problem, right? I'm gonna win the beauty pageant here, but
All right,
you might
let's see it.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay. This is just a complete overreaction to me. Okay. This line, look ahead line for this game was Cincinnati laying 7. Now it's Cincinnati down to 4. It's 3.5 at some shops. To me, what we just saw from this Bengals team on Monday night in front of the entire world was one of the best rookie quarterback performances we've ever seen. Quite literally. Jaden Daniels in that game, he had the best single game rookie completion percentage in history. It is the best performance by a Washington quarterback in PFF history. So everything that could have gone wrong did go wrong. It was the first time in the Super Bowl era that neither offense punted nor turned the ball over. And the Bengals are the first team to lose when their offense does just that. So about as many of anomalies, aberrations as you could possibly see, all lined up to make a drastic over-adjustment with this number. And I'll add in as well, per our guy Evan Abrams over at Action Network, the Bengals would be the 8th team in the last decade to be a road favorite in their 4th game of the year after starting 0-3. Those teams, 8-0 straight up, 5-1-2 against the spread.
That's the whole argument.
Do you want me to write a book?
No, I'm just saying all I'm saying is you talked about how well Jaden like the entire Commanders game.
You give your side.
I'm going to.
No, now.
I'm going to.
No, give it now.
Obviously plays off of what he's saying.
No. I want you to give your pitch as if he didn't pitch. You pitch us the Panthers, and then, right, it's opening
I can no longer pitch it.
No, it's opening arguments. This is litigation. And then you can
all
attack
right, fine.
each
It's
other.
going to play off of it naturally anyways. I knew everyone was going to come to the table with this is such an overreaction. Andy Dalton played one good game, and the Bengals are still a good football team. And it's like, when do we start asking the questions if I think the Bengals are a good football team. I just don't think they're great I think their defense is a big reason for everything you just said about Jaden Daniels happened in that game. I think their defense is an absolute abomination. And I think Jaden played a great game, but I think he can't play that great game if the Bengals don't provide him what they did, which is the worst, which is an awful defense. And then you go to the flip side, they didn't punt. They put up so many points. They stalled in the red zone, and they were obviously going to put up points against the worst secondary in football. Jamar Chase gets 2 touchdowns strictly just because my guy's better than your guy by a landslide. And that is why, I think the Bengals deserve credit, but I think a lot of what the Commanders did is a result of the Bengals not being good. So I actually don't think it's a huge overreaction. Everyone was like, it's week 1 against the Patriots. Let's not overreact. The Patriots are clearly not a good football team. And then they lost to the Chiefs. The Chiefs continue winning, but are the Chiefs that good? Is anyone sold on the Chiefs this year? They probably should have lost to the Falcons. They're 3-0. They're getting I'm not saying the Chiefs are a bad football team. It's just the Bengals are losing games to awful football teams, and the Chiefs, not throwing them in there, but the Commanders and the Falcons are an awful football team. And I think what the Panthers did, they made a lot of offseason acquisitions, and they have a good coach. It's all the reasons that we thought that we collectively bet the Panthers week 1, I think stay true. It was just Bryce Young was giving you the worst quarterback play in the NFL by a landslide. Now, I don't think Andy Dalton is going to throw 3 touchdowns and have 0 interceptions. He could. But that difference, and the reason we bet the Panthers week 1 is the same reason I want to bet the Panthers in week 4, just with a different quarterback.
Okay. The Cincinnati defense is bad, can be bad without it being as bad, like and still be underrated per se, right? Because like you could still be really bad and underrated. I don't think their defense is as bad as the clinic that Daniels put up on Monday
Agreed.
night is.
Agreed. I think he played
because
fantastic.
if it's like, okay, we have a weak defense, I'm worried about Cincinnati's defense. So then the quarterback puts up quite literally one of the best quarterback performances. So the answer to me is somewhere in the middle. And we adjusted to it being about the Bengals being broken.
Well, I think it was also adjusted to the fact that they have so many injuries on their defensive front, particularly defensive tackle. I think Hubbard and Hendrickson are both healthy, but interior, their defensive line is completely shredded, and they just lost their starting tackle to, I believe, what was
Trent Brown. You don't need
Trent
Brown. You don't need Trent Brown. Trust me, you don't need Trent Brown. He useless. He's already a turnstile.
Is there an argument that either one of you would like to present before Uppy and I interject?
Just on that note, if Trent Brown is a turnstile and was starting for this team, what could that possibly make his backup?
No, Trent Brown's a guy who gets paid and then mails it in. Former Patriot, know the story all too well. Like,
okay, I mean,
he's certainly not a 3.5 point adjustment.
My last thought, which is not a flushed out Evan Abrams statistic, this is more a vibes thing, which is what I consistently bring to the table. The Bengals are officially, with the Ravens coming to town the week after, this is a must win game. And I think they have the players that could rise to the occasion, but things naturally do tighten up. Essentially, it's different because it's not week 17, but week 17 and week 18, Jack always says it's like his favorite games to bet because it's like these teams that have nothing to play for, they go out there, they make the upset, yada, yada, yada. I think the Panthers, they come in with confidence, but they also know they're playing with house money. They're not expected to be good. Andy Dalton's not the permanent answer. And the Bengals absolutely have to win this game to where could they win by 3? For sure, but they could be playing tight. They just need to get out of there with a win, whatever it takes. And I like the number of 4.5.
You know why that stat works that Jack said? Teams in week 17, week 18. You know why that stat is tried and true?
Why?
Because you're usually paying a tax on the team that has to win. We now are in tax-free New Hampshire.
Well, I don't think it's tax-free. I think the Bengals absolutely need to win this game.
Are you saying that's priced in?
I do.
So what your argument is that there has been a 3-point adjustment on Carolina and Cincy based off last week, what you saw. Like the market has said, you know what, Cincy isn't as good as we originally priced them, and Carolina is a little better than we had originally.
But Cincy still needs to win this game.
Sure. Okay. So Tim, I guess my impartialness here is Tim is pitching that it's an overreaction.
Sure.
And what you pitched, in my opinion, was that it's a proper reaction, which is why I don't necessarily feel like the Panthers are the bet here. Like you're saying, actually, Carolina is fine, and Cincy, maybe their defense isn't very good, but their offense, like there was a correction there. Their offense looks pretty good. I know it wasn't 100% in the red zone, but Burrow looks fine. Chase looks fine. Higgins is playing
against the worst.
So are you saying that the line should be Carolina +3? They should be favored, or you think 4.5 is fair?
I think if the Bengals were like 2-2, it would be like around 3. But the fact that they need to win this game, it's 4.5.
It would be 7 is actually the point.
It actually would be 7.
Right.
It might actually be 8.
They would have been playing better football, and it would be bigger than 2-2. I'm saying if the situation in a vacuum was they don't need to win versus they do not everything that comes with them actually being 2-2, which would have been them winning 2 more games. I obviously get that.
If Cincinnati doesn't have pass interference on that last drive against Kansas City, what's the line?
Yeah.
What
does that theoretical even do?
Because the point is that
you're getting value.
The point is in a sample size of 3, you don't have enough priors to predict future. So you have to go with what are all these tiny things that swung games, right?
Unless
a toe out
unless
of
you
bounds.
think there's an adjustment, right? So here's an example. Minnesota, power rated coming into the year. You might say, okay, on a neutral to Green Bay, they're 3-point dogs. Now, what we've seen with Darnold and Kevin O'Connell, you might say, and Flores' defense, you might say, you know what? We power rated them wrong. What we can tell from Vegas is that they actually have not mispriced Cincy. That's what Tim is saying. If you're making the argument that the defense is actually way worse than it should be, or Burrow's risk is way worse.
I have a question.
Yeah.
How have they not mispriced them when they've lost outright as double-digit favorites?
How have they not mispriced them? Because going forward, they would still price them as such. That's like Florida State
But
was
haven't
mispriced.
they not, though? Because the line did come down.
No,
3
so
points?
Jack's talking about mispriced for the season versus mispriced for the game.
Correct.
Like the bookmakers said, look, we mispriced Minnesota going into the season.
Yeah,
Here's an
I get
here's an
that.
adjustment.
And what I'm saying is, are you claiming that they were mispriced preseason? Because they are still being priced like that,
Yeah.
right? Like they're still
You
only
tweeted the same thing. We've been on the same vibe. You don't think you literally tweet that it went viral that the Bengals are like, are we sure they're actually good?
yes.
Right.
So but you didn't make that argument. That's why I'm asking you. Do you
That's
think
been my argument about the Bengals since day one. I don't think they're that good.
But then
With a little Burrow wrist in
right.
both.
but now we know the Burrow risk is okay. We know Chase and Higgins.
Right,
are
but
playing.
that still stands that they're not that good.
And
They might not be that good, but the difference is not by this margin.
yeah.
Right, I guess we disagree. Like it's also like
well, we obviously
you
obviously
can't predict the future. We have to take the Panthers off of essentially a 1-game sample size. And I don't think people are super overreacting. I think the Panthers are now what everyone thought they would be with a competent quarterback.
but that's what you need to be saying.
That's what I said.
All you've done is said, like, I kind of don't agree with Tim. You're not really pitching me why this would be your best
literally
bet.
just said
Uppy,
all the reasons we bet the Panthers the
Yeah.
first week.
Okay.
Now with a competent quarterback is the reason I want to bet them
Okay.
here.
All right, Uppy, thoughts?
Yeah, so I thought Casey's argument was honestly stronger than expected. I like the vibes he's bringing. He's a vibes guy. I'm honestly shocked that he didn't mention Andy Dalton revenge game. I'm really disappointed.
Well, no, because that is a square loser.
I don't
know,
think that's
I know.
I don't
I think that's a
square
fun
loser
one,
thing.
though.
I think there is a little bit of a dynamic there. Actually, if
But it's not like Andy Dalton. It's not like the Malik. Like Andy Dalton didn't get like done poorly. He played like a full career there.
But there's so many things that like organizationally there just is that.
But for
factor.
me, that can go
like the
two
narrative
ways.
this week in the media is literally Dalton may kill their season. That's crazy.
No, it's sick.
Wait,
but
wait,
it can
time
go
out.
2 ways. It
Of
can be
course it
like
can go two ways,
that can
but-
get in his head and he doesn't play well, or
Sure.
it could be a driver.
and it
so
could
I just
go
choose to ignore it.
and since he could cover and
Right,
but
of
you're
course.
trying to make an argument and he's saying he's just surprised you didn't use that and you're a vibes guy.
Yeah,
So,
as a
Uppy,
vibes guy, I feel
continue
like
on.
that's
Yeah.
a huge part.
But
But
yeah, you go.
Tim coming with numbers, data, and I completely agree that it is an overreaction and that this should be, if they beat the Chiefs, this is closer to 5-6, and now we're getting several points of value, and I'm definitely on the Bengals. I was
how many-
staring at
All
this
right, all right.
initially, and
But they didn't beat the Chiefs, right? They didn't beat the Chiefs. And they didn't beat the Chiefs because they did allow their 27th point of the game for 2 consecutive games. So I just want to do this. I want to take how good do we think Cincy is and how good do we think Carolina is, right? That's what is most important to me. And I think showing Vegas thought that they were 7 points better 7 days ago. Is that accurate? Casey says no. I say yes. I am on Tim's side. I would be voting for him. And
I would
riding
as
with
well.
Cincy.
And we're talking, Bengals defense, and I do agree they're playing way worse. The DJ Reader loss can't be overstated. I think that was massive, but they have played pretty solid offenses. I don't think Carolina can quite take advantage. No Thielen now. That's just another one of
They
their
have not
few
played
weapons.
solid offenses.
Washington has 100 weapons compared to the Carolina Panthers.
Washington came into that
He's
game.
saying in comparison. That's his
The
point.
Patriots have an awful
And they didn't
offense,
score on them.
And Mahomes has 5 touchdowns, 4 picks on the year.
All right. It sounds like, unfortunately,
That's fine. The last thing I want to say,
Yeah.
first, this is great because now either we win and it goes
That's
into
fine.
our
Whatever
record
helps
book,
you sleep at night.
or the last thing, Evan Abrams is presenting facts, and I love that.
Yeah,
How many times am I going to hear that? And it's like, well, the numbers say this, and it fucking loses.
A lot of times because it's hundreds of games and thousands of games.
Then what? Like, if you're not allowed to use, and again, I'm not.
No,
Right.
you are.
Right.
You are.
I'm not a
for it
stats
to
guy.
be the tiebreaker.
Like, I couldn't give it. Like, I'm
That's
not.
not the
I'm not a
tiebreaker.
stats guy. I'm not a stats guy. But how else do you come up here and talk about the games without just being like, yeah, since he's dope. Like, what the fuck else am I supposed
Is
to do?
that what I said?
No, yeah, Tim, you don't need to defend yourself.
No. By the way, I
you're wasting our
love the
time on
facts
this.
you bring. I'm just saying for Uppy to be like, well, can't go
That's
against
not
the
true.
data.
He literally said he likes some of your points. He just prefers
Right, and the
Finn.
final was, well, Evan Abrams jerked me off, and all of a sudden we're on the Bengals.
You're using a sample size of 3.
Actually one.
Of 3 that he's brought 3 stats to the table, and now you can't trust the
All
stats.
right, let's move
So
on.
here's
Fish
I'll just wrap
bird.
it up like this. A rookie quarterback, recently pretty much never played better. A Washington Commanders quarterback pretty much never played better. Andy Dalton, a Carolina quarterback recently, pretty much has never played better.
Yep.
And now next week, we are going to use all 3 of those things to completely change our math because Cincinnati has a 0 next to their name before a 3. That's why.
I mean, look, the whole thesis last week in Panthers, which won straight up, buy low, sell high. And that's all Tim's trying to do here. And I'm aligned with it. What you did not convey enough was you're buying a shitty stock, right? Because you don't want to buy low if you can never sell high. And
That's what I'm saying.
Sure. And I heard your argument now. But what we're saying is, you know what? Cincy may actually be okay. They've got a top 5 offense, it appears, and they've got a defense that is not the worst in NFL history.